Hello and welcome to RIFC Nation, a fan-created podcast by two native Rhode Islanders talking all things Rhode Island FC. Each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click that like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. Ryan, how is it going, my friend?
Good. Happy, well, not happy Mother's Day to you, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching and tuning in today.
Yeah, absolutely. So you missed out on this one because you were, you're from New York, or your parents are out in New York, correct?
Yep, my mom lives up there now. Yep.
Yeah. So you were doing the duty. How was the trip?
It was fine. I was very jealous, especially as we got towards like the 90th minute or so. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the first first win in team history at home. But alas, that did not happen. So
Yeah, I would have loved that for you. I would have loved for you to have missed that first win.
I was hoping for it, to be clear.
It just felt like we were so close, and we'll definitely kind of dive into that and what it looked like. We have William in the chat, and William is a vlogger from Sacramento Republic. He came over, joined the tailgate. He says,
Oh,
"Hello,
awesome.
Rhode Island FC Nation crew. What's up?" William, I sent William home packing with some stickers. Interviewed with him at halftime. I
Oh, cool.
thought we were going to give a really good kind of second half performance there, but did not work out. But he does say was a hell of a game, and we will talk about that hell of a game as we get going here. It's also I do want to take a second. We got some hate mail going out there on Twitter right now, which is pretty funny from the
Really?
Phoenix Rising Nation, who took a screenshot of our profile and said, "New person / people to fight just dropped." They want to fight us, apparently, because they think we work for the club and the league and all that, but we do not. I did write in and commented on the post. I go to games with my 6-year-old son. It is what it is, but we are here.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. So
Yeah, so if you want to fight with us, I actually liked one of their tweets because they posted I think it was USL Tactics posted a picture of the dragon that was at the game, and
yeah,
unfortunately misspoke and called it a dinosaur.
saw
And
that.
the Phoenix Rising Nation people commented with the Jurassic Park logo in Rhode Island, and I thought that was like Rhode
Oh, that
Island
was so
instead of
cool.
Jurassic
Yes.
Park. I thought that was really cool. I liked it, and then they want to fight, so let's fight. There was a comment, or reply to that, so basically saying, "Oh, it's fine. All USL championship podcast hosts want to fight each other," but that's not true. I don't think that's true. We talked to the great people of the
I know.
Sacramento State of the Republic podcast. They were awesome. And
Yeah.
Ryan, you missed out on this part, which was actually really cool. But we had so many people. I had so many people come up to me in the tailgate and was like, "Hey, are you Matt from RIFC Nation? I recognize your voice." Or, "Hey, Matt, like I watch the streams. I watch this." And like that last one with Sacramento was so good. The people were awesome. It was really cool to see that collaboration. So I'll push back on that. We don't want to all fight each other. Like there are some really good people. We met William out there, so it's just awesome. Like really good stuff going on.
Yeah. No fighting. No fighting. Just more love.
I don't get it,
We're
but
all trying to grow this league.
so let's talk Rhode Island FC's 2-2 draw versus Sacramento Republic. Before I even do dive in on that, it is worth noting, for those of you watching, I am wearing this crazy Spurs Galaxy kit this week. We've had the Northern Lights like here in Rhode Island, or the Aurora Borealis, and we kind of control Ryan's destiny this weekend versus
I was gonna
City.
say I'm a huge Spurs fan, so this is great. I love this.
So
I might have
yeah,
to get one myself.
I had to wear this one from a couple seasons ago, and kind of put the galactic changes and shifts that we have going on right now. So I figured Ryan would appreciate that. And
Very
if you're
topical.
listening on podcast, go check it out. You'll definitely appreciate it and get it later on. But 2-2 draw, and it was a really good performance from the boys in amber and blue. And I think that kind of started with the lineup. And looking at the lineup, it was Koke Vegas in net, Gabi Alves, Karifa Yao, Nodarse, Sadie, Ibarra, Penayotu. I believe I got it. Maybe not. We'll work on it. Clay Holstad, Turnbull, Noah Fuzan, and Chico back into the lineup for this one. So I think the biggest surprise was that Jack was immediately kind of put into this starting 11 in our midfield. And I think that kind of speaks volumes to where Kano sees him, and kind of how excited we were to get him in, because we talk about on this podcast all the time how much the midfield is bypassed, how much we miss the midfield. So you were able to watch it on ESPN Plus.
Mhm.
Early thoughts on what you saw from I'll call him the mini magician in the midfield. 'Cause he's a wee fella. He's a little guy, but
Well, we were
what did
texting about that, and I was like, I think he's taller than me, but fine.
you?
I was super psyched. I know. I think on Friday the announcement came from the team, and I think everyone just in the Discord was super pumped. I randomly was trying to find anything about him. I'm not like a huge Revs fan. I didn't like ever see him play for them, and I, while looking for any sort of data, any sort of anything, stumbled across a Jack P highlight video made by Jack P himself, which I just love the industry there, the craft to pull it together. And he, while this is a highlight video and you have to take all those with a grain of salt, looked like he was the answer. I was over the moon excited about it. Obviously didn't know if he was going to start, didn't know how long he was training with the team. But one thing that I've heard other people say this, but the players will tell you how good the other players are. They immediately were giving him the ball a ton, giving him the ball under pressure. He was taking free kicks. He was taking corners right away. Yeah. So it shows you immediately that Kano, the other players, like whatever they saw in that week of training, really respected him and liked him. And I thought he made a great impact. And even just looking at his heat map, he was standing in the places that you were hoping that our attacking midfielders would start to stand. So I think immediately he was just a huge boost to the team.
Right. Tim says in the chat, didn't know much about him before the game, but the difference was obvious right from the start. Definitely. And I was talking to Tim in the tailgate, and he said he thinks this is the position that Amos was supposed to play, and that, he's been hurt. So to kind of bring in, it's kind of funny to look at too, because Amos is a really, really short guy too. So we had two super short guys to fill this role. But, with Amos not being able to make the squad and get match fit, getting Jack in there certainly did help, and obviously had the assist on his debut. So a very, very good debut for Jack in there. The other big kind of difference in the starting 11, what I thought was that Yao and Nodarse were flipped, and we talked about this texting via the chat when the game started. But this had a really big impact, and I think this kind of gets the most out of both players, as you have Karifa Yao, who's kind of that central defender that's going to come in and put a good challenge in. Nodarse is a little more sporadic with where he's at. He's very fast, and he tries to make up space with his speed. But Gabi Alves is the ball playing defender out of the group, and you have Nodarse kind of tucked in a little bit closer to him. So what did you make of this change and how you saw it play out?
Yeah, I mean, I would really love to know why we swapped them. I actually thought Yao looked pretty good in that middle, and then it seemed like they were trying to almost funnel play out through the wings more, with Nodarse and Gabi Alves being a bit more of those ball playing roles. But yeah, I mentioned it about an hour or two ago in the Discord. Nodarse, probably the most underrated performer of the night.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, he where did I have it? Yeah, went 10 for 12 on ground duels, 3 for 6 on aerial duels. So just like ate everything up around him. 3 clearances, 1 block shot, 2 interceptions, 7 tackles, was dribbled past 0 times. And best of all, 93% passing accuracy from that middle center back there, or I guess left-sided center back, depending on how you see this formation. But just a very clean, solid day of work for him there. So I did think it got the best out of him. I think Yao looked fine over on the more right side of the formation. I think they're both right-footed, so not a huge bias there of like who plays what.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it definitely got a great game out of Nodarse for sure.
Absolutely. Action got started in the 31st on this one, as Clay Holstad picked out a beautiful pass, dropping dimes. I see you take, before we get on that, I see you take your sip of the Guild RIFC Pale Ale. So we'll do
somehow not sponsored by them yet, but we'll get
our
there.
Free ad. But I'll talk to Jeremy over there, see if we can get a little sponsor going on there. So, Clay picked out a great pass to Turnbull, and he had a pretty good first touch on it, and just absolutely hit home a piss missile on this one. It was an absolute rocket into the right, and it sent the Defiance and Section 13 into a absolute rage. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Joe and Irvin from the Defiance. We were without La Banda, and the two of them took charge and absolutely, got it going. It was also really cool to see there was some people in there with their kids who had like kids drums strapped on and
Oh,
ready to
awesome.
go. So like the environment was awesome.
Yep.
Big shout out to everyone who stepped up with the drums, kids, adults alike who joined for the first time. So it definitely kept things going. It wasn't the full Labenda, but it was definitely enough to kind of keep things going. So really cool to see. But that first goal coming in the 31st minute there was just an absolute like I said, piss missile. It was a rocket. Zach was super excited. My son, who's a huge Turnbull fan, he's like, "That's my guy! That's my guy!" As he was screaming and yelling on the platform. So really cool to see. It just a great goal to get us going and kick it off 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, Steven Turnbull for Golden Boot winner. I mean, he's like, I think it's his third goal in the league this year already from the right wing back or right fullback, whichever you see him as. Like, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's just really kind of picking up some slack right now. We'll talk about Chico in a few, as Chico did get the start, and
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of talk within the Discord and people kind of thinking like, yeah, he still kind of looks hurt,
Mhm.
or whether or not it's the fit as far as how he goes. But we'll get there in a few, and we will also discuss JJ Williams making his RIFC debut, which was really cool to see.
Mhm.
But the action continued, and Sac Republic leveled it in the 38th. It was a wide ball out on their attacking right, and the ball kind of came through on somewhere between Gabi Alves and Karifi Yao marking. And it's just been I guess a constant thorn in the side for this Rhode Island FC team, with kind of marking out from wide positions and the ball getting crossed back across the middle of the box.
Yeah, it looked like Gabby got kind of caught in two minds where he started to retreat into the box, but then almost realized like, wait, I should go out to block the cross, and he kind of ended up doing neither thing. And then yeah, I couldn't really tell exactly what happened on the broadcast, but just his guy got right up and over him, which is unfortunate because he's someone who I would probably have all of our players really pick out an aerial duel, at least one of them. So yeah, tough goal to give up for sure, especially when we had just been completely dominating the game at that point.
Yeah, it almost looks like I don't know if it's a zonal marking scheme and
Yep.
not full man, and that's what's costing us. But I'd rather just see us put the body on the body, man up, kind of go old school, hard nose, and match up that way. So,
Mhm.
that did happen. But the good thing was we were able to equalize pretty quickly. Just 4 minutes after that, as Karifa Yao was able to get one home off the corner, and just great to see for Yao. We kind of looked at him as that crunching dog center back, but to see him get on the score sheet, and
Mhm.
we talked about, I think, 1 or 2 episodes ago, just seeing more players other than Chico get on the score sheet is just
Yeah.
great, and we definitely like to see it. So, what did you make of that Karifa Yao goal?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was the team didn't, put their head down after they gave up that goal. They didn't let it bother them.
Which we have seen.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it was great to see, especially like, obviously you don't want to give up the goal, but when you work so hard to be up 1-0 and really a deserved 1-0, dominating the whole half, you give up a half chance to Sacramento, they somehow score on it. Easily could have gone into the half really defeated there, even though it was 1-1, but they just kept at it. I think I mentioned last episode, I think I saw a little bit of different tactics on the corner. I think it played out there. They're doing like that. Everyone bunches up and then they go attack, which I think
Sure.
they're just trying different things, which I appreciate. And yeah, I think that's where we get that goal from, which is great.
Right. So we go into the half with a 2-1 lead, and we talk, or I at least kind of try to emphasize the difference between stats and the eye test. And this one absolutely boggled my mind. Like, what would you say before we didn't even talk about this off air, but
Okay.
as far as the eye test, what would you say the eye test was for that first half?
It felt just completely dominant for Rhode Island. It
Yeah, I would.
basically was the opposite of everything we said was going to happen between the two
Right,
of us.
right. I would definitely agree with you there. I think maybe the first 10 minutes or so, they Sac Republic advanced the ball down that right flank quite a bit. And then I think it was their right winger, right wing
Mhm.
back picked up a couple cheap fouls, and Gavi's yelling, "That's two now." The ref wasn't calling anything. But they had kind of the better chances in that early going. But
Mhm.
the pitch tilted after that, and the ball was spent in our attacking third. In that final 2/3 for sure for most of it. But stats for the first half had Sacramento Republic with a 51% possession lead. Although we did outshoot them 14-4, which I thought was absolutely insane to get 14 shots up in the first half. And we kind of talked about, and people have talked about with this team, the need to actually just shoot the ball and not, kind of diddly fuck around with it and do anything with it. But 14-4 outshot, 4 on target to 3 for Sacramento Republic. They did have the one big chance to our none, but 82% passing for us, 80 for them, 10 fouls for us, 6 for them. And a part about the fouls, I think our physicality and those fouls really bothered them, and it really disrupted Sac Republic.
Yeah, no, I think we saw it, especially towards the end of the game, which we'll get to. But I think Sacramento was really like super frustrated. Really did not. They were starting to pick up some really cheap stuff at the end, because I think throughout the whole game we were just really at it, and I don't think they were super prepared for the physicality. Quite frankly, I wonder if they were kind of like, we're just going to walk up and roll these guys. And when you're a really good team, sometimes it can be really frustrating when the other team just isn't relenting to your prowess. So I wonder if there was a little bit of mental stuff going on there.
Right, and we also have that from William in the chat, the Sac Republic vlogger, who says, "I'm pretty astonished that Rhode Island FC players did have the confidence while playing Sac Republic despite the ball possession difference. The difference wasn't that much though. Like it's 51% in the first half. Total was actually 54-46, which I find that second half stat like even more blowing, that Sacramento gained it. Obviously, they did have the goal to level it, but
it was a big game state.
Yeah, it felt like we were down that end of the pitch.
I would be, if we had a field tilt number, I would actually expect the tilt to have been much more towards our end, or towards their end of the pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. It just seemed like we had the ball in the final third. And we talked about we started a new segment on here where we posted out 3 word RIFC and 3, I'm sorry, and we wanted to get some takes on a 3-word review on what you thought of the match. Just short, quick, easy hits. And one of them, and I'm trying to pull it up, and I got a bunch of tabs open, so I'm sorry for not getting it right on there, was all about playing to the opponent or playing to the opposition. And I'll definitely give whoever said that credit. But I think before this, we talked about the Charleston match maybe being our best match, and it was 0-0. It was in the weather, it was in the elements. But
I'm happy you brought this up.
Yeah, was this our best match of the season?
So before I answer that, I actually have a bone to pick with the "we play to our opponent" thing.
Okay, all right.
So Raising Anchor, Matt and Jason over there, they've been talking about this for a little bit, and it's not like they're both there. It's just a theory they have, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and I don't actually think I agree because of the Charleston match. It gets brought up as like a really good performance. I think it was a good result, but I actually don't think it was a great performance. I think the 2 stars of that match were the weather and the ref. And I think
that was the 47 foul match, right?
47 foul match. That was the torrential downpour at 38 degrees. So I don't know that was like a great performance from the team. I think it was a great result. So that's where I've been kind of toying with this. Like, are we a team that plays up and down, or are we just a team that hasn't figured it out in a lot of ways? So the other thing too is I think, and we might get to this, I just think having our good players back and adding some good players to this team is what kind of created what happened last night. So to answer your initial question, yes, I do think it was our best performance of the season by a lot.
All right, so I did find the post. I had to go to the phone with it. I couldn't collaborate at all. Simple mind here. It was their name is Max F on Instagram, so I wanted to give them credit. Playing to competition was their RAFC and 3. So shout out to Max for responding. I agree with you there. The weather and the ref being the star of the show in that Charleston game, but this performance was, I think, just next level. And Tim said in the opening, just a gut punch at the end to concede so late in this one. And we had our chances. We had Dequa go in 1-on-1 with the keeper and just kick it straight at him. And then our good friend Mouse over in the UK will love this one. But Prince Sadie and Kevin, Fluffy Cahog boy, we'll tell you this: Prince Sadie owes us a goal. Those two chances in the second half, and I would say more so the Sadie chance than the
Mhm.
Dequat chance. I believe our XG was just under 3 for this one. But that the Dequat chance, he was just threaded through absolutely beautifully. But
Yep.
the Sadie one is the one that would have put it 3-1. It would have been, I think it was in like the 71st, 73rd minute. So that was the chance that would have really, really iced this match.
Yeah. And fun fact, we had 2 big chances created, and those were the 2 that we missed both of them.
Right. So, we got to definitely capitalize on that.
Mhm.
And, I talked about Chico, and it came up a lot in the Discord today. And obviously, if Chico is fit, Kano's got to play him,
Mhm.
right? That's what you would assume. And Matt and the Raising Anchor guys have talked about how they believe that Rhode Island FC kind of built this team around JJ Williams and Sadie out on the left and Fuzan potentially on the right. But if the Golden Boot player becomes available, you got to go get him, right? You got to bring him into
Yep.
your squad. But do you think where what we've seen from Chico in the last few matches is a bit more of him carrying a knock, or just kind of the way this team is set up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame anything about the setup. I think he has been, especially last night, like he had a chance. It's one that we all expected him to bury. So it's one of those things of like he's getting the chances. I mean, I can't imagine a thigh injury magically healed up in a week. So I'm assuming that there's definitely still something going on there. But at the end of the day, I think he's been doing a lot of other things other than goal scoring in the other games. He's had some great hold up play, some great combination play around the box. So I'm not ready to have any concerns with him in this team. I think actually one thing, and I might get to this either now or in a bit, but I actually have to say big up to Coach Kano and GM Kano in this game, because I think this was truly the first game we saw like kind of what his maybe initial plan was for the team in a lot of
Sure.
ways. And I think he's done a great job identifying throughout the season as GM of who he can add to this group. I think stuff like the King signing was really smart in
Mhm.
terms of getting more quality depth in the midfield. Signing Jack P on loan, I think it was a glaring issue that he found a solid solution for so far. And even something like pivoting to Dequa when JJ was going to be out pretty long term. So I think as a GM, because it's almost like the Bill Belichick, like
It's
build the
tough
GM,
because
build the
it's
coach.
2 separate, but it's very,
Mhm.
you're under the
Yep.
microscope and everything's gonna be scrutinized.
So yeah, it seems like he's doing a good job like evolving the squad and learning from what his squad's doing. And then tactically, I think he's doing a good job adjusting to there. So I think there is a world where, and I think the thing last night I was watching the game and I was like, man, imagine if instead of Sadie you have JJ Williams on here. And all of a sudden it's like, man, this team, that's just a lot of talent together. I don't know how Kano can figure out the problem of how do you fit it all together, but like that's a very good problem to have. So
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up King because, like him and Jack are the 2 most recent signings, and
mhm.
obviously Jack goes right into the starting 11. But we've seen King come in the last 2 matches, and I love what I've seen from him. He's the most box to box midfielder
Mhm.
we have. I would say Clay maybe being the next one, but Clay's a little bit more of a deep lying role
Yep.
than Isaac. But he gets up, he gets box to box, he's fiery, he's feisty. I really like what we see from him. I think it's kind of he's been practicing with the team since
Mhm.
the preseason, so I think it's more of a match fitness thing as to why we're not seeing more of him. I know I did go a little bit more on the Marky Barra fan club last podcast, as I liked a little bit more what he does. But
Yep.
I could see a situation where it's him and Jack playing in a double pivot with Clay just behind him and really kind of threading balls too. But I've really liked what I've seen from the native Rhode Islanders so far, and I think he brings a different dimension that we see from Brito, that we see from Ibarra,
Mhm.
and I think he can really benefit this team going forward. So I do like that you brought him up, but as far as adding JJ Williams and JJ Williams getting his debut, like holy shit, he is a big dude. He is a absolute massive unit. And the second half, RIFC was attacking the
Mhm.
our end in section 13, and like, you just saw him on full display. He had a really good chance. If
Yep.
he had gotten in goal on his debut, I think the stands would have fallen down
I was like,
outside,
tops are flying.
right?
I was like, oh my God.
Like we were just like, everyone kind of around was like, wow, like
Mhm.
he is massive, and he's a really big dude, and I think him getting a little bit of extended run there was just really good to see, really cool to see, and like you said, it kind of completes that vision of what GM Kano is trying to do,
Mhm.
and will only help what Coach Kano is trying to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I truly did not expect to see him this game. I actually almost kind of didn't want to see him because I'm very much like I want healthy JJ for the majority of the year, not rush him back. But yeah, he looked good out there. I mean, he's definitely going to be rusty. He hasn't played a competitive game in I think 6 months or so now. So, but even then, Dick, I just think you could just tell he has something about him. He's definitely has a physical presence, but his touch was really good. So, yeah, excited to see him continue to grow into this team and hopefully get up to starting match fit.
Yeah, so final stats for JJ. He played 9 minutes, completed 3 of his 4 passes, one shot. It was on target. He had 9 total touches, one pass into the final third, one clearance, one headed clearance, 3 defensive actions, and he had one dual one. So he tracks back too. He gets
Mhm.
in there on free kicks, but the biggest caveat to this whole match and what we'll kind of talk about is the +7 added minutes and Ricketts finding the equalizer in the 90+3. And it seems that set piece defending is just going to be a thing for this team going forward. So what is your take on why we are conceding so many goals against set pieces?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was excited because I thought we had gotten past this a little bit. We hadn't given one up, and I mean, we initially the first couple games it was every single game, and then it seemed like we had figured something out. It was a bit of like a scrappy goal, but I think my actual biggest thing, and while I agree with most of what you said on the Inking thing, I was so frustrated with him for giving up that foul right outside the box. It was
Fair,
just so
fair.
sloppy.
Yeah, in a bad
Um,
spot.
yeah, and it was just one of those games where like the details and we can get to this, but like, man, the details were just like so frustrating, especially to concede that way. Uh, yeah, so it's just a weird. It was almost like a hockey goal. Where just like it was just ball was ping ponging around, and it
Sure.
finally got put in the net. So I can't blame like the true set piece defending, but I really just someone boot it, just get it out of the box, clear it. You have 3 minutes left in the whole game.
Right, just hoof it, hoof ball
Mhm.
at that point. Rida179 says in the chat, it was a great game, just missed a few big chances. Feel bad for Prince Sadie. Um, we have Kevin Callahan who runs the Fluffy Coho Corner. I'm late to the show, but Prince Sadie owns Daddy a goal. I did throw that line out there, Kevin. So definitely appreciate you getting in there. Um, and he before he did join us, and this helps us with our explicit rating. I'm here at bitches, so glad Kevin's here. If you come to Rhode Island FC games and you tailgate, you need to go find Kevin near the Rhode Island Discord. His trunk wine brings all the boys to the yard. We'll leave it at that. You know, what was my reference in the Discord earlier? It was loving this club.
Oh,
If you think about that song, Kevin brings out getting drunk in his trunk. You can put it to the same beat; it'll work fine. It's absolutely great. So I look forward to joining Kevin's space on Twitter tomorrow night. If you're not already, make sure you go find him on Twitter, join his spaces. He does a really good job with it. So we talked about the leveler. It was, and we mentioned this in the opening, the eye test versus the stats. 54% possession for Sac Republic just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like what I saw out there.
mhm.
It's a 46 for Rhode Island. We outshot them 21-9, 6 on target to 5 for them. 2 big chances for us, 1 for them. 2 big chances missed for us, and we talked about that in the second half from Chico and from Sadie. But overall, I really think this was our best performance, and it was an
Mhm.
absolute gut punch, like Tim said, to lose it like that. We did put out that 3 word review. So if you listen to the podcast, or if you watch this on YouTube, we're always going to try to put this post out there. Give us your take in 3 words on the match. Our good friend Mouse at Rhode Island FC _UK said a big improvement, which I will definitely agree
Mhm.
with that one. We talked about their name is Max F playing to competition, and maybe not so much the case as Ryan mentioned with the
Well, I
weather
guess
and
my
the
my thing is, maybe it's the case. I think the point will be proven next game
well.
because I think there's a lot of
Can
improvement
we
that was
maybe
happening.
caveat that with we played down to certain competition?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and
I'd
I
agree
think
to
to this
that.
point, we could say maybe up to, or I think the jury's out, but I think next game is going to be the one that'll either add a lot of smoke to that, a lot of fire to that smoke, or smoke to that fire, whichever way you want to do that.
Chicken
Because we
egg.
are playing a team that I think we should go out there. I'll spoil the preview pod, but I think we should go out there and we could do some damage, especially if we play this well again. So I would love the team to. I don't know if it's proving me right or wrong in this scenario, but I would love for them to go out and show the same level of performance against a team that is not undefeated leading the conference.
Yeah, so Kai Drury also adds home win, please. I think a lot of us thought we were there. I know Kevin said he was pretty hungover today from all that trunk wine and probably keeping it going and celebrating. But we want to see that home win. I just can't wait for the after party on that one
Oh,
and what that'll look like. And then Brian Luch says best showing yet, and those were all on Instagram. We also had a few really good takes on Twitter as well. So let me pull that up. I'm sorry, my tabs are all over the place. Trying to find the Instagram ones, which you cannot find on tabs. We had disgruntled sports fan at Tarmad17, not quite enough, and I get that. I get
sure.
that. Jacksinho at Amaral L. Jackson said Draw Kings played decent. And then Evan
Spoilers.
Ryan
Come on.
at Terminator 0725 said shot the ball, which we did allude to on here. We did actually shoot the ball this time and not try to pass it into the net, as some people were kind of calling out for. But thank you to everyone who wrote in on those. We're going to post that after each and every match, so be on the lookout for that.
Yep.
But Ryan, what else do you got for us on this one?
So are we doing our 3 words, or are we just?
Yeah, you want to hit it with yours?
All right. Yeah, mine was, well, so I have 2. My first one was we were wrong, which I kind of addressed earlier, but both of us got this one so backwards. I think I quadrupled down on my wrongness on this one. I said it on our recap pod last week. We did a podcast with the Sacramento people on theirs. I then said it on our preview pod with them. And then in the Discord right before the game, I was like, we should really sit back and maybe save Chico for the second half and all this stuff. And I am so happy that Kano is not in the Discord reading my bad takes. So yeah, my first one was we were wrong. And then my second one was championship level execution. I think we really saw the difference between 2 teams and kind of the place they're in. Sacramento is a team that won the West last year. They spent 9 of the past 10 years in the playoffs. 2022 Open Cup runners up. They're actually, I think, the second oldest team in the league as well. So a lot of experience there. They came into the match. They were heavy favorites, weren't playing their best, got dominated a bit, and then still found a way to turn 2 half chances into a point taken on the road. And then you had us, on the other hand, a team was building, growing, learning. We had plenty of opportunities to put this game to bed and really make a statement, and we just weren't able to do so and got killed there. So my 2 are we were wrong, and then championship level execution. So yeah, hopefully the team learned a lot from this game, and hopefully they got a lot of confidence from this game, because that was a very good performance. We would have both bit your hand off before the game for a draw. It's a classic, like the way it happens changes how you feel about it. But man, that was a very, very good performance that I hope the team can grow with.
Right. So let's talk about, I like that line you said, and I kind of commented on, I think, a few Twitter posts with it was we before this one we would have bitten your hand off for the draw,
Mhm.
but at the hour mark, would you still feel that way?
Oh God, no.
No, right. We wanted all 3
No.
points, even at
To
halftime.
be fair, the team looked like they were really going for it too. We talked about a couple of those big chances. They came after that point. Like, we were fully going for this game until maybe 75th minute, when I think we started making some defensive subs and some tactical changes. But no, yeah, everybody was in agreement that this should have been a win.
Right, absolutely. I saved 2 3-word reviews after I give mine. Mine was
Okay.
a team possessed, and I think I texted that
Yeah.
to you. Like, it
Yeah.
just looked like a different team out there. We were pressing high, we were pressing hard, and we were stringing together passes. And that's the caveat that we have not seen with that press. We've pressed, but then it's one pass turnover or one pass random shot. But we were stringing together passes, creating good opportunities. The XG was right around 3.
Mhm.
And I think we should have scored 3 goals in this one.
The
But
other thing too about the press, I think this was our best structured pressing game too, because it wasn't even just like we were really good at that always, but like no one was getting pulled out. And I know that was a huge concern that the Sacramento podcast crew brought up of like that they do
Right.
a really good job moving and pulling people out. And our center backs, we've seen them get pulled out. So that was one of my biggest concerns this game. And the team did such a good job pressing as a team, but not leaving gaps because someone got over aggressive and stuff like that. So I was super impressed by that.
Right. So the last two that I saved were from one was from Hop Skip. Actually, both were from Hop Skip at the real Hop Skip on Twitter.
He's a
And
poet.
his first one was Jack Panayotu fucks, and I responded, "This one makes this episode just to get use of the newly added explicit tag." So
There
thanks
we
to
go.
Hop Skip for that one. And Jack did fuck in that midfield, so we definitely appreciate that.
Big fan.
And he replied with another one, and this is interesting, and this will probably cause some divide amongst Rhode Island FC supporters. Back to Lee? Question mark. How do you feel about that, Ryan?
I had a lot of thoughts in this game. This is absolutely not even one I thought we were ever going to talk about. I thought Koke was fine. I didn't see him do anything that I would warrant him being benched for. I also think he brings a lot of presence. I know USL Tactics tweeted about this, but he does a really good job joining that kind of back four as a center back. It's similar to what you see a lot of ball playing teams do, like my beloved Arsenal.
He's the traditional sweeper keeper, and I think that kind of suits
incredibly Spanish in that way.
Right. And it kind of suits what we are going on there with Gabi Alves, and I think you saw a lot of his distribution go down the left flank to get work with our Alves to kind of go from there. But
yeah, Hopskip, if you're listening to this, or let us know in the Discord. Well, I would love to expand beyond the 3 words on that one.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if that was just like for discourse. Tim in the chat just says no. So I love that, Tim. I'll cheers you on that one. But
I mean, what's tough is like I don't know that Jackson deserved to lose his place in the first place. So that's what's tough about Koke kind of just coming back when it wasn't as if Jackson like there was a huge reason for it, but also now that he's back, I'm like he's looked good. So yeah.
So Ryan, who'd you have for your man of the match in this one?
Oh man. I think I'm gonna go with Noah Fuson, who I already said. I kind of gave out some stats earlier about what Node Arce did, and it kind of went under the radar in that way. But I thought Fuson was really good. I know I gave him a bit of shit on the podcast last week because I was so excited about him at that number 10 role. And I think in this game, we actually saw a lot of the passes and a lot of the technical ability and the creativity shine. That chance he created for Chico that Chico didn't bury, like that was a beautiful through ball that I think last game he just was a little off and couldn't string that pass together. He also played, I think, at least 2, if not 3 positions in this game. I think he's such a good utility player where you can pop him all over the pitch as we adjust on the fly. So yeah, I just think he's been a great performer all season. And I think especially as we're building, like one thing we haven't talked about though, is like, this was such a more loaded bench and loaded, more talented team that was able to play this game, just even against North Carolina. So surrounding someone
impactful.
Oh my God. I mean, surrounding someone like him who has that creativity and that technical quality with more technical quality and firepower, I think is only going to bring better things out of him. So super excited there.
Right. And Tim says in the chat, if coach built around JJ, he really built around Koke. So that's fair. I definitely get that. And I think kind of one of the, I've been a football manager player my whole
wait, we haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
I love football manager.
I prefer football manager mobile just because of, if your wife's watching a show that you don't want to watch, football manager mobile.
Okay.
Taking the ship. Football Manager Mobile. You're doing X, Y, or Z. You're in line at a store. Football Manager Mobile.
Yep.
Like it just plays to the broader audience. So I've always been a mobile fan. But the theory in Football Manager is you always build it out through the spine, and I
would say that's beyond Football Manager. I think it's real life too.
Right, and real
proponent of that.
Yeah, but like you can definitely see that with what Kano has done with this Rhode Island squad, and I was tough on Kano after the Phoenix Rising match. So I will be one of the first to throw my praises out there as well. So my player of the match. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
that's a really good point. Something I did want to bring up. I think I mentioned it a bit in that coach versus GM Kano situation, but man, I think a lot of the tactical stuff that worked today for us was actually in that last match as well. He just didn't have the players available to actually execute it at a high level.
Sure.
So it's just one of those things like, man, if we had like one of Chico, JJ, or Jack P in that North Carolina game, I think we do pull out a result there. So it's just a classic, like, players make this, and having your best players fit and available is a good thing, believe it or not. I know everyone's out there like, wow, this guy, but shocking takes. But
I think you look at that game. I think you look at the Pittsburgh game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are two very winnable games. It's also worth noting that we've played 9 matches. We have 6 draws, so 67% draw ratio. Tulsa is in second place in that one. They've played 8 and drawn 4, so we have a 2-draw lead going into the next weekend. So we are the draw kings, as people will talk about and discuss on here. But to kick it back to more of a positive, my man of the match for this one is Clay Holstad. I thought Clay was just absolutely outstanding, and he was robbed of the second assist. That was his ball that found Prince Sadie. And as Kevin said, Prince Sadie owes us a goal. But just to break it down.
Well, back to my player of the match. Fusan did all the work on that one.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Clay Holstad, 8.2 FOT mob rating, 90 minutes played.
I love him. I love him so much.
82% passing. He signed Zach Scarf after the game too, so I can throw.
Are you kidding me?
Zach out there. Zach had a big day. He created 4 chances, had 1 shot on target, 58 total touches, 3 in the opposing box, 5 passes into the final third, 1 out of 2 accurate crosses, an accurate long ball. He was only dispossessed once, 3 clearances, 2 headed, 1 interception, 11 defensive actions, 5 recoveries, 2 dribbled past, 4 duels won. Just a really complete shift from Clay. Really filled up the stat sheet. And like, you see him after the match, and it looks like he just went for a jog in the park. I thought he was just a machine out there. And well, I think having Jack on the pitch really unlocked more of what Clay can really afford and offer to this team.
Well, yeah. I mean, number one, like, I think the wild thing with Clay is that, like, that's like an average Clay game at this point. Like, he's getting like an 8+ on FOTMob every single game at this point.
Sure. But he's not one of those algorithm guys that you're like, holy shit, where that comes from?
He's just putting up numbers. Like,
right.
And he's impacting things in so many different ways. Which is like, it's just tough because, like, we had parts of the season where he was injured, where he, like, I still was like, oh, I really thought he broke his foot that first game. And then we had the kind of Clay as center back a couple games. So to see him back in the midfield pulling strings, I think is just so welcome. And then I also think, like, this game, and this is like less Clay and more just like everybody, we just attacked in so many different ways. It wasn't just play it out to the wing and it gets stuck over there. We were going through the middle. Clay was spraying it out to, like, Turnbull on that run. A lot of, like, much more presence in the center of the pitch. And, like, he was dictating a lot of that. So yeah, big up Clay. I was very jealous when Raising Anchor interviewed him, and they didn't tell him that I loved him. So missed opportunity there, but
you can definitely slide in Clay's DMs. I'm sure he'll really appreciate that. Or he'll call the Rhode Island State Police, one of the two. It'll definitely work out for you.
Yep.
But before we move on, anything else you want to add to this one, Ryan?
No, I mean, I think if at any point it sounded like I was down on this performance, I promise you I was not. I truly think this is a building block. I think this is a preview of the future of this team. And it filled me with a ton of optimism. So super, super impressed with the team. And I just hope it is a momentum booster moving forward.
Any bigger or different takeaways watching a home match on the broadcast versus being there?
A lot of sadness about not being there, especially when you see, they got the walk in on ESPN and Nate's leading the charge, and I was just getting fired up watching that. Yeah, I mean, it is the viewing angle's decent, even though the ESPN camera guy cleaning up, my friend, like, he was all over the place. But yeah, I just jealousy and sadness that you're not there is probably the biggest thing that comes away.
Our guy Nate did have an awesome catch on a wayward shot. I believe it was the second half. He just caught it. He held it up high above his head. turned, looked at the crowd cheered, and then just kind of casually dropped it back towards the back of the goal. So
I need to go rewind the match and see if I can find that.
yeah, I was standing next to him, so he robbed it from me. He had a really good catch on it. But spent a lot of time talking to Nate, and if you come to any of the games and you hear the RIFC chant, just know it's Nate. Nate actually told me mid match he hurt his calf kind of jumping at one point. So I hope you are well, brother. I hope you're doing good. But I spent a lot of time with Nate during this one, and it was just absolutely great. The love he has for this club, the energy, the passion he brings to each and every match it's infectious. So it's I just love spending time with him, and kind of being around him as games go. But
Yeah, well seen, Nate.
next up for us is a trip to Colorado Springs on Friday to play the Colorado Springs Switchback FC. We did have their result break out in a chant. So I don't know if you caught that on ESPN Plus, but it was Hartford just lost. Hartford just lost. Like it was being chanted.
I watched on mute, so it wasn't. It probably did come through. So
all right. So most recent trip out for Colorado Springs was a 2-0 win at Shartford Athletic. The time out before that, they lost 1-0 to New York City FC2 in the Open Cup. And then back in league play, they beat El Paso 2-0, beat Oakland Roots 2-0, and then one all draw versus Indy 11. So we are actually going to be going live Wednesday night previewing this one with Switchback Savvy. So we're really looking forward to this one. Colorado sit 9th currently in the Western Conference standings with a total of 10 points and 9 matches played. 8 goals to 10 conceded, so the -2 goal differential. One thing I kind of popped into my head with just being a sports fan in general, with the 2 different conferences and kind of how we played with this one with Sacramento. Do you think how equal do you think the conferences are? Could this be a old school East versus West NBA
Ooh.
type thing, or is the Eastern Conference a little bit stronger, and so some of these draws kind of holding a little bit more water for Rhode Island FC?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that I have a strong feeling in this at this point, but I think a lot of the data you're seeing coming out is like Charleston is far and away the best team, like statistically, and then you see Sacramento kind of more around 4th place there, even though they're leading the West. So I don't want to write them off because they're in the West. I don't think I'm even close to at that
Sure.
that place, but
I think it's
I
just something
definitely
to keep an eye on as the
will
season
be interesting.
progresses.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I mentioned earlier. I think this is very much a winnable game. They're the opposite of the Draw Kings. They don't want to draw. They have 1. We have 6, as we mentioned earlier. Negative goal differential. They're not scoring or letting a lot in. So I just think this is a game that, again, I want to see us build on and take what we did against Sacramento and apply it to a team that maybe isn't as robust as Sacramento.
Sure. Tim did mention in the chat, Nate is great. Glad we were able to give him the opportunity to present the Defiance paddle. Karifi Yao was voted the Defiance man of the match. So
Okay.
it was awesome to see Nate. And Nate actually told me, he's like, hey, they chose me. What an honor to give the paddle out. He's like, who is it? Who is it? So I pulled up the Discord and showed him. So Nate was super excited. So glad he was able to do that. Just a great, kind of ambassador for the club and everything that he does and brings to
That
the
picture they
sport.
got of him with the oar in front of like the whole grandstand was just awesome. Like so awesome.
You could just tell how happy he was. And big shout out to Chris and his wife who make those. I spent some time talking to Chris basically because of this hat. So the merch tent had 7 different hats, Orion. I know as a
Oh
fellow
man.
bald man, you are a good hat appreciator as well. And
Yes.
they were trying to, kind of see which one kind of stuck. But I love the 90s college design of this one. That's why I went with this one. I'll probably
Yeah.
end
When
up
you sent me
buying
that picture, I was so jealous last night, but I'm very excited to hit the merch tent next game.
I'll probably end up buying the other 6 as well. That's just who I am. But
Yeah.
the really cool stuff going on there. But Chris and his wife actually, Chris buys the paddles and then he puts all the vinyl on it for man of the match, and his wife does the braid with the nautical rope on it. So, and I actually got to hold it, and it's just awesome. So big shout out to Chris. I know he kind of started that with this time out in San Diego, and he's got a really cool project going. And I'll tell you this off air, Ryan, for the our supporters player of the year at the end of the season, that'll be even trump the paddles even further.
Is
But
he building an entire boat?
maybe it might be a full battleship presented to our supporters
Incredible.
player of the year. But really cool stuff, and a big shout out to Chris with what he's doing there. So just absolutely awesome. But I think that'll wrap things up for this one. We did mention we'll be linking up with Switchback Savvy, and just a big thank you to everyone who kind of came up and said they really appreciated what we do with the other supporters groups or other podcasts. And as much as I like talking to Ryan and seeing his beautiful face on air, I do think we both appreciate talking to those other supporters and kind of just learning a little bit more about the league and other clubs and what they got going on. So it's just a cool bridge, and it gives you a really cool preview. And then obviously you got a guy like William who made the trip from Sacramento. He was literally the only Sacramento fan out there. He popped in our tailgate. He posted his vlog. He came and did a halftime interview. So supporter culture in the USL Championship, I think, is just absolutely top notch. I think it starts with Rhode Island FC and the Defiance and what they're doing. And again, big shout out to Irvin and Joe who picked up the slack without Lavonda there and really led the charge on that one. But before we sign off, you got any final thoughts for us, Ryan?
Yeah, come on, you Spurs. Let's go.
Wow, I might have to clip that. Yeah. We might have to start a TikTok or a snap face, as Bill Belichick would say, just to get that clip on there. I shared out before this with Ryan and in the Discord the I'm City till July chant that Spurs fans were doing. And I hate our fans for doing that. It drives me absolutely insane. Like I would rather see us go out and blast City 3-0 than lay down. Like just go win it. Just go win it. Like whatever.
Music to my ears.
Yeah. Kevin ends it with hashtag up the tide. We did have an up the tide chant going at the stadium. So absolutely got to give Kevin credit for that one. That is his chant. That's his baby. So really cool to see. Make sure you join him tomorrow night, Monday night on Twitter in his space. But that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, RIFC Nation is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Make sure you click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. If you're already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you check it out and type in the code RIFC Nation, all one word, to get a free pack added to your collection. And we had some really good parking lot and tailgate chat about the Club Collector app and strategy in the auction market. And just kind of trolling all that. So it was really cool to see that before the game. So Tim writes in, great job, guys. Thanks for tuning in, Tim. Always like talking to you. Always appreciate the support and you joining us. But thanks again for tuning in. I've been your host, Matt, from my co-host, Ryan. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.